Okay, good morning. Welcome to
FamilyMath951.
FamilyMath951. So today we're gonna talk about something that's actually pretty difficult. And I don't know how it's going to go, but we're going to try to understand some basic ideas in statistics. And it was something based on, kind of inspired by something our friend really, Nassim Taleb, posted yesterday. So he posted two things. One, these are daily, I assume daily returns, some kind of returns from the stock market in Argentina before August 12th, 2019. So just a couple weeks ago. So before a couple weeks ago, the distribution of returns kind of looked like this, and you could sort of fit a line to it and say, hey, maybe this is what it looks like.
Okay.
And then we had a distribution on, something happened on August 12th where there was a gigantic movement. I don't know what happened. But this single day changed the whole idea of what the distribution looked like. One day. So I don't know if this is a year of data or 10 years or 20 years of data. But it doesn't matter. But one day changed everything. And then he goes on to say, he's talking about a very difficult problem. When you're collecting data, what you're trying to understand is what the distribution looks like of the data. And you have a lot of common distributions. Do you know any common distributions for them when we talk about probability?
Maybe the bell curve. So it starts small and then it gradually slopes up and then it goes steep and it sort of slopes down like that. Looks like a bell.
Yeah, that's right. The bell curve is definitely one. Do you know any others?
I guess that's the normal distribution.
Yeah, the bell curve is a normal distribution. Yeah.
There's like things that kind of look like exponential. You can fit things to them. Like this would kind of be an exponential.
Okay, yeah, maybe there's an exponential, or there's even a simple one. If we're rolling a die, maybe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they all have. What's the probability of getting those?
1/2. It's rung. Oh yeah, 1/6.
1/6. Yeah, so just a nice flat distribution where everything's sort of the same. And what Taleb was talking about is it's very difficult to know what distribution you're looking at when you're collecting a lot of data. You often can rule distributions out. You can say, hey, it's definitely not this one, or definitely not this one, definitely not this one. But this example shows that it's hard to rule out lots of other distributions. Because this data was really coming from a distribution that included a point like this, and you didn't think that could happen. So let me ask you some questions. So what are some things where you think a normal distribution would apply? So things that don't vary that much from their average. Things that you might encounter in everyday life.
Maybe like average height of a certain age with people.
Okay, yeah, that's a great example. And not even of a certain age, even just height. Why do you not expect to see much variation in height?
Well, I mean, because for the normal distribution, the probability goes down super fast as you get away from the average. So you wouldn't expect to see like a 10-foot tall person.
Or like a 3-foot tall person.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't happen very much.
That's right. So you wouldn't expect to see somebody who's 10 feet tall. And you would certainly not expect to see somebody who was 50 feet tall.
Yeah.
Right? What else can you think of that might follow a distribution like that?
Maybe like average lifespan?
Oh yeah, that's a good example too. Maybe people live, I don't know for sure, but maybe people live on average 80 years. But you would not expect to find somebody who had lived for 500 years.
Yeah.
Or 10,000 years. Okay, good. And Taleb calls that, these kinds of things, mediocristan, where things are sort of clustered around the mean. But more importantly, in mediocristan, one observation can't change everything.
Yeah.
So can you think of things that we've encountered where one observation or one day everything changed? What are some things that you might think where that could happen?
With the wealth distribution.
Okay. How could wealth obey that sort of idea?
Well, if you
That's a good
have
example.
if you have like 100 people who all have, let's say, $500,000, and then you have one person who has $1 billion, when you add that person in, the average changes drastically.
Drastically. Okay, good. That's an example. Yeah, that's a good example. What else? Things that we've encountered where one day changed everything.
Maybe it's like the weather, the average weather. So maybe if you took a sample of the average temperature on a certain day in like December, and if one day was, if they are all around maybe 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and then one day was like 60 or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it could change the average a bit.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that probably though, because you wouldn't ever expect if the average temperature on a particular place was 20 degrees, so you wouldn't expect to find it being 5,000 degrees one day. Maybe temperature might be a good example of things that stay close to the average, but small changes still could be very important. But think about some things we've encountered recently where one day made a drastic change. So things didn't change much day to day to day, maybe for years and years and years, and all of a sudden one day everything changed.
I mean, if you have like an earthquake,
or even like a volcanic eruption.
Yeah, an earthquake, a volcanic eruption, like we saw in Iceland, how one volcanic eruption changed the coastline by 5 miles. But if you had measured even probably for like 100 years before that, you would have never seen anything like that. And then all of a sudden, boom. All of a sudden there was a day you didn't want to be there. Right? So that's what we're going to study. We're going to take a look at this idea to see if we can see what certain distributions look like, and can we rule certain distributions out without knowing for sure what distribution we're looking at. Okay? We're going to do that using Mathematica.